Okay, so this is the male cycad here, and this is the equivalent to a Jurassic flower. So that produces pollen. Now what happens is all the insects will come over, collect that pollen, feed off this plant. The cycad will actually release hormones, chemicals to attract those insects that will come along and pick up that pollen. So the pollen's like sperm. The insects will then transfer that pollen over to the female plant over here. So they'll come over, they'll bring that pollen over, they'll be attracted to the female, which is also releasing chemicals. They'll land up here, and that sperm or pollen will be dropped off here. Then what actually happens then, the female starts forming the fruit or the seed pod. So the fruit here with the seed inside. Then of course some of our seeds and fruits are attractive to animals, which will then eat them and do the seed dispersal, enabling these female trees to disperse all of their seeds or their kids all around this area. Here's something that's interesting as well. Look at this. That's where a buffalo's been rubbing his horns, or it could be a scrub bull up on the side of the tree there. Aha! Welcome to Jurassic Park. Check this place out. We're in the northern part of the Northern Territory, and I just pulled over to check this spot out. Amazing. It is really like Jurassic Park. We've got all these old world plants here, the cycads, and we've got a big termite mound here as well. It's probably going to end up eating all of that tree. But these awesome cycads. These guys have been around since the Jurassic period, and they're amazing. Now the old world plants basically have a male and a female, so the male will pollinate the female, whereas a lot of the new world plants, they're actually hermaphrodites, so they will pollinate themselves. But these guys here, you need a male plant and you need a female plant. So when the male plant flowers, what actually happens is they change the chemicals and the pheromones, and the insects will come along and they will take the pollen from the flower, and then the male will close off that, and then they will transfer it over to the female. So this one here, it's got the fruits, be a female. Now the cycads here, some species they say take about a year to grow an inch, and some species can live for hundreds and hundreds of years. We've got another one over here, and this one has some seed pods on it. Now you can see we've had a fire through here as well. Fires are pretty common up in northern Australia, particularly in the wet season. A lot of them are lit by lightning strikes, and you can see these cycads here, they basically have a fireproof trunk. Once they get fully established and they're a sort of a decent size, they'll have a fireproof trunk like this one here. Some species as well, the fire actually helps with the germination of the seeds. Some seed pods are actually cracked open by extreme heat. So this one here is a bit different. You can see this is a sand palm. He has not done as well with the fire conditions, but the cycads do well. So, as I was saying before, some species take about a year to grow an inch. Look at this guy here. That one's nearly 3 meters tall, so that one there could be a few hundred years old quite easily. Other species to get to that size would definitely take hundreds of years. What an awesome spot. Another interesting fact is that some species of insects will only cross-pollinate some species of flora, so they have symbiotic relationships. Here's another interesting tree here as well. This is a stringy bark tree, and this is the one that the indigenous would cut with a flint stone. They would cut around here, like so. They would climb up the tree, cut around the top there, and then pull off the entire piece of bark as one piece. Used for building materials, used for painting, and sometimes also used for kayaks or little boats to get around through the billabongs. So interesting, all these little things in nature, everything's connected in the avatar of things somehow, some way. There we go, this is where one of those stringy barks has been cut. Cut around here, climb up the tree, cut it around there, and then cut it up the grain, peel it back, and pull it off as one big piece. And then that can be used for building materials, used for like coolamans for carrying things. Can also be used for a bark canoe. Now back in the day, the indigenous would use canty, or they would use like obsidian, quartz, chip it off and make a sharp edge. Use that sharp edge as a flintstone axe. Basically flintstone, they make arrowheads out of it. You can make axe heads out of it as well, and spear tips. There's a buffalo over here. Let's go and say g'day. Might be the son of Charlie. He's got his nose up in the air. What is that? What is that thing? Trying to get a photo. Get up a bit closer for a photo. But generally they're scared. 2 legs. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay, don't run away. Generally they're scared of us and they just take off, but however, can be a bit dodgy as well. You've got to make sure you've got a good tree to hide behind, because they can get a bit defensive. If they feel threatened, they might have a bit of a go at you, the old buffalo. But if they put their head up like this, they tilt their head and they got their nose up and they start like trotting or prancing around, that's when you've got to look out. Hey big fella, where you going? Come back, say hello. Come on. That's a big buffalo. Oh well, I guess he didn't want to hang around for the camera shot. That might have been the one from Crocodile Dundee. Hey buddy, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? It's okay. What's going on? Oh, check that out. That is a young wild bull buffalo. He's just sniffing the air. It's okay, mate. Isn't he a beauty? Hey buddy, you going now, are you? Where you going? Okay, see you later. Nice to meet you. Hey, it's okay. It's funny how they kind of run sideways like that. They're like, oh, what's that? It's bloody Corey. Get out of here. See you, mate. So he's just cruising around out here in the bush, grazing. Now, the water buffalo are an introduced species to Australia, so unfortunately they're not great for our environment. They were introduced in the early days to provide meat up in these northern areas. The water buffalo obviously from Southeast Asia, and over there they're basically water buffalo are used in just about all horticulture, farming, and a lot of the Southeast Asian people have working relationships with the water buffalo. They're their pets and they do a lot of the hard work for them. But in Australia, unfortunately, they're introduced species, and they do devastate the habitat quite a bit. But still, nevertheless, it's always cool to see wild animals out in the wild. I wouldn't recommend getting too close because they can be dangerous, particularly if it's a larger bull. They put their head down like that and they start hitting the ground, or get their nose up in the wind and then head down. You might want to look for the nearest tree if you can't escape to a vehicle. So don't do what I do. Check them out from a safe distance.